Dr. Stephen Haymon brings his passion, ministry, and 38 years of experience as a psychotherapist to bear upon one of the most damaging forces in our lives today, and that is stress. Using sound biblical principles, Dr. Haymon has examined the causes and the consequences of stress and how we can not only cope with, but conquer its effects in our lives. So good to have you with us. And just seeing you here makes me less stressful.
I hope I have a calming effect on
you
people.
You do. The weather's terrible, and you're in on time, and you smile, and it's wonderful. But tell us, Doctor, a little bit about, we hear the word stress. We kind of know its presence, but I don't think we really know what it is or why it's so damaging.
First of all, there's a stigma to the word stress, the terminology itself. So most people minimize what it is. Most of us don't know what it is, and most of us don't even know that it exists, whether good or bad, whether we receive $1 billion or we have death in our families. It has to do more with perception of things as opposed to what is actually going on. And when it occurs, we have a reaction to it, mentally, emotionally, physically, and spiritually. So because most people don't know what it is and how the effects that it's having on that person, it expedites the aging process. It helps, or it aids in helping the person to be more susceptible to all opportunistic conditions. It also affects how people react to other people. And one of the most stressful entities in the universe are people, as you were just talking about a minute ago.
That was our floor director, Dean.
Yes, stressing us out.
Yeah, but so it manifests itself in so many different ways. And one of the things that you cover in Stress, Climbing Out of the Pits with God, is the fact that, again, whether it's we feel good or we don't feel good, even when things are going well,
we're stressing.
There's still stress pressuring or pushing and influencing our lives.
And that's the reason why it's so important to get in touch with and in tune to what stress actually is, because it's going to have an effect on us. Not just me, but if I'm interacting with you. If I'm stressing and I have a bad day and I work with you, then I'm going to react to that.
Right.
So my family, my children, how I look at life in general. So it really has a profound effect.
And does it come in like just measurable, or maybe not measurable, but incremental doses that it builds up in our lives through a variety of factors and a variety of circumstances, situations, whatever it may be?
Yeah, I think because we become so accustomed to stress that we really don't react to it until there is a litany of things that go on.
Like a tipping point.
Right. There's an accumulative effect. Yeah. And so, I just want to say this as it relates to depression. Since stress is so prevalent in our lives, we get bombarded and we're trying to handle things, and things seem to be getting out of control for us. And what tends to happen is there's a straw that breaks the donkey's back. Something happens, we can target on that, and then we fall into depression. But you were talking about incremental levels. Yes, it happens, and happens. We don't even realize that we're not sleeping well, or we're not eating, or we're isolating from people, and boom, something happens, and it tips us over, and then we have depression.
Okay, so I just wanted to know what happens in the body or in the brain. Are there chemicals that are released in your brain when you're stressed out? And are there different types of stress? Because I'd imagine if a bride is getting married, she's happy, but that still puts her under stress. Are there different results as a result of that, or as opposed to someone dying in your family? Do you kind of understand what I'm asking?
Right.
You know, the different types.
Okay, let me say to you, you're 98% chemicals. So everything that's going on in your body derives from the chemical makeup. And so when you're stressing, it's like a car going 100 miles an hour, never stopping, never getting service. So when you're stressing, it's affecting all the neurotransmitters and the neuro receivers. And so when they become so overwhelmed, then they start misfiring. So again, we don't have an appetite, or we're eating too much, or we're not sleeping, or we're sleeping too much. We can't focus and concentrate. We have a problem with our memory. It's a whole gamut of things that occurs. Even when we're stressing, it exacerbates those conditions or whatever proclivities are in our body. So if I have a back problem, then it tends to accentuate that pain. If I have migraines, or if I have a genetic predisposition to cancer, then it exacerbates and excites that.
So kind of, it knows, not it knows, but it kind of pushes on the weak spots in your physical, mental, emotional state, and then that's where it kind of brings a manifestation of its impact.
Absolutely. So that's the reason why it's so important for us to address stress and do the various things we can do to mitigate stress or reduce it.
And what are some of those things that we can do?
The fountain of youth. By the way, Valerie, I don't know how old she is, but
we don't know either.
She looks like she exercises.
Yeah.
But the fountain of youth is really an exercise.
Yeah.
Because that has something to do with the circulation of the blood, and the life is in the blood and stuff. So people want to exercise. They want to have a hobby so they can take mini breaks. They want to travel. They want to get massages. They want to pick and choose stresses, and they want to be around people that help mitigate stress. In other words, they want to be around people that are not complaining and see themselves as being a victim and all this other stuff.
Okay.
So those are one thing. Those are some things that can happen. I believe personally, what you eat can really contribute to stress. Sugar. Here I'm really becoming religious in this, but there's sugar and caffeine and
corn syrups.
Because what it does is, as it relates to sugar, it tells the body to produce insulin, and the body tells it to store fat. So it has the body working harder. So the meats we eat, all the stuff that's in there, the pollutants, the carcinogenics and stuff are there. But the last thing that I would want to say, because there are a gamut of things, I talk about a oneness relationship with God. And a oneness relationship with God is more than religion. It's more than quoting scriptures. It's more than wearing a cross. It is a oneness relationship. And I heard you all talking about Christianity the other day, a few minutes ago. Christ-like, meaning love. And how I respond to people. If I'm really a Christian, then I shouldn't be tearing you down. So I should be edifying or building you up. So that's the important thing. So the oneness relationship with God matures us. He helps us to start loving Him, loving ourselves, and then we can love other people. And as opposed to tearing down so many people, what we end up doing is building them up, because we benefit from building people up. So among all the things that we do, the exercising, the eating right, and getting the proper amount of sleep, and doing hobbies, and traveling, and whatever we need to do, the massages, the best thing I really believe that helps us with the effects of stress is our oneness relationship with God.
Okay, so there's a spiritual solution.
Oh, absolutely.
To the stress problem.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And it also then, although it's by the Spirit, I guess you said because we're 90% or 98% having chemical reactions, then that also translates into a biological or physical well-being.
Right. Stress it affects us holistically. So there's the mental, the physical, the emotional, and the spiritual aspect. And the spiritual aspect is not the relationship with God that I just mentioned. I'm talking about the quintessential me, the essence of who I am. So it affects every aspect, so we have to address it.
Okay.
When it comes to looking at Jesus' words of take no thought for tomorrow, be careful for nothing.
Let not your heart be troubled.
Let not your heart be troubled.
We could just kind of
yes.
No, those really is there reality there? Is that something we can obtain or achieve or benefit from in this life in a real way?
I have a grandson. I have grandchildren, but I have a grandson. And when my grandson is with me, he has not a care in the world. And we've traveled all over the country and stuff. And when he just rests in the strength of his grandfather. Now he thinks I'm bigger than life. He thinks I can walk on water. I can't. But I hope he's not listening to this. But when we are developing this intimacy with God, he matures us. He elevates our minds so we understand that he's the one in control all the time. So even when things are happening that we don't understand, we know there's a bigger plan and he is working it for the good, not just me, but people that I don't even know that I'm going to come in contact with. I didn't know I was going to come in contact with you or this beautiful young lady. However, God knew that. So the more I rely upon him and I relax in him, the more comfort he gives me in knowing he's in control. But he has to do that. I can't conjure that up on my own. I can't just quote scriptures. God has to be the one that does that for me.
And that comes through that oneness relationship. That's
a oneness, and it's seeking the will of God. And I hate quoting scriptures, but in Acts 13:22, I'm a psychologist. I have been for 40 years. I'm also a minister. But in Acts 13:22, it says, David, the son of Jesse, was a man after my own heart. Okay, well, we know that happened in Samuel. He said that. He also said it in Chronicles. But in Acts 13:22, it says, he will do everything that I want him to do. So when we're seeking to do the will of God, he bestows upon us this blessing, peace that surpasses all understanding. Philippians 4:4. So essentially, yes, it's real. I live it every day. I am 62 years old.
You're kidding me.
No, when I tell people I'm 62,
man, you got good skin.
I live what it is that I preach and teach to people.
Wow, 62. I'm stuck 62. There. You look amazing.
Yeah, praise God for that.
Doctor, it's good having you with us today. The book is
you.
Stress, Climbing Out of the Pits with God. You're going to be with us tomorrow as well. And to connect with Dr. Haymon, you can go to greaterinsight.net. Or as always, go to harvest-tv.com. That's our website. Click on Show Info in the menu bar. You'll find an easy way to link back to Dr. Stephen Haymon's website. And don't forget, he will be with us on tomorrow's Harvest as well. Harvest will continue in a moment.